What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, WBA, World Boxing Association, welterweight super champion, Cuban star boxer, YORDENIS UGAS, 27 wins, 4 losses, no draws, 12 wins by way of knockout, 35 years of age, stands at 5'9" with a 69-inch arm reach. He's coming off of the biggest performance and biggest win of his career when he defeated legendary 8-division world champion, iconic Filipino superstar boxer Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, August 21st of this year. With that said, he is now going to be allowed. Initially, he was not going to be allowed by the WBA president, Gilberto Mendoza, to face off against undefeated unified WBC IBF welterweight world champion superstar boxer, who is widely considered by many to be top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and ERROL Spence Jr., who is 27 wins, no losses, no draws, 21 big wins by way of knockout, 31 years of age, stands at 5'9.5" with a 72-inch arm reach. So they're both the same height, but Errol Spence has a 3-inch arm reach advantage over YORDENIS UGAS. With that said, the WBA president Gilberto Mendoza there initially stated that YORDENIS UGAS was going to have to enter a mini tournament for the WBA with Stanionis, who's the #1 WBA ranked challenger, and he was going to, then once he faced Stanionis, he was going to have to face the winner of the Jamal James, who was the former WBA regular champion at welterweight, who lost to Butev, and Butev was the winner. So he was going to be the recipient of the opportunity to face off for the super title. So this was got a lot of, dust was kicked up. A lot of people was not happy, including YORDENIS UGAS, because YORDENIS UGAS, he stated that he had a deal already agreed upon and in place to face off against Errol Spence Jr. February of this year, okay? And the WBA was interfering and blocking him from achieving, greatness. Now, we know also YORDENIS UGAS is 35 years of age, okay? So YORDENIS UGAS does not have a lot of time. He's coming off of the biggest win in his career, upsetting, shockingly, Manny Pacquiao. He had a tough fight with 2-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer Showtime Sean Porter, who is now retired. But Sean Porter got the edge, and most people thought that YORDENIS UGAS won the fight. So Razib Butev is 14 wins, no losses, no draws. Stanionis is 13 wins, no losses, no draws. These are young guys in the sport of boxing, and YORDENIS UGAS at 35, he's looking to capitalize and get as much revenue and secure his legacy as much as possible. At 35 years of age, he doesn't have much time, so he would have had to face off against Stanionis in February and then face off against Butev in the summertime before he could get a unification bout. So with that said, Stanionis received and accepted to have step aside money. The WBA obliged and allowed him now to face off against Errol Spence in a unification bout that looks like it's going to take place in March. And with that said, YORDENIS UGAS, he's already started training. He's showing clips of him training. He's showing clips of, him working out and him taking it serious. And he sends out a message and a stern warning to Errol Spence Jr., but not only just Errol Spence Jr., a rival foe of his in undefeated 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout. He's 34 years of age, standing 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He has extremely long arms for the welterweight division, and he's coming off of the biggest win of his career, getting a stoppage victory over 2-time welterweight world champion Showtime Sean Porter in the 10th round, dropping him twice, and ultimately seeing Sean Porter's father, trainer, and manager, Kenny Porter, having seen enough and waving the white towel. With that said, now they have common opponents, but YORDENIS UGAS, he faced Terence Crawford in the amateurs, and he beat Terence Crawford in the amateurs. And he's stating that he's more than confident, and he has to represent his country of Cuba, who's on his back. He's taking them on his back, and he's going to represent them proudly. He's looking to achieve something that's never been done in the history of Cuba, has become undisputed. So he stated that he's for sure and certain that he's going to beat Errol Spence. He's already training. He's already focused. He stated that Errol Spence is simply not the same guy he once was. And we know Errol Spence, after unifying the belts against Shawn Porter, they all have Shawn Porter in common. After unifying the belts against Shawn Porter back in September of 2019, Errol Spence suffered a horrific car accident, which saw him have to be out the ring for 14 months and going through recovery and things of that nature. Then he came back December 5th of 2020. He defeated two-division world champion Puerto Rican superstar boxer Danny Swift Garcia via unanimous decision. But YORDENIS UGAS, he's stating that he don't believe that Errol Spence looked his best against Danny Garcia, and he don't know if Errol Spence is even going to be the same. Now, another thing that took place is Errol Spence was scheduled to initially face off against Manny Pacquiao in August, but Errol Spence, he suffered a broken detached retina, which saw him have to have immediate surgery on his retina and be pulled from the fight, which gave YORDENIS UGAS the opportunity to replace him, step in for him. He was going to be the co-main event against a guy ironically, in El Chino Marcos Maidana, former world champion, his younger brother, Fabian Maidana, who also suffered an eye injury and had to be pulled from the fight. So the stars just aligned for YORDENIS UGAS. He got the opportunity to face off against Manny Pacquiao and prove that he deserved to be the champion after Manny Pacquiao was placed as champion in recess after he defeated former unified welterweight world champion superstar boxer Keith One-Time Thurman back in July of 2019 for the WBA title. But due to inactivity, Manny Pacquiao was out the ring for 2 years, seeing as though Manny Pacquiao was ascended over in the Philippines and we was dealing with a global pandemic. He had a lot on his plate. So the WBA, they placed him as champion in recess. And once they placed him as champion in recess, YORDENIS UGAS was elevated to the super champion. So YORDENIS UGAS, he was elevated to the super champion, okay? And the fans weren't happy. The other major sanction belts, the WBC, the IBF, the WBO, they weren't happy of the decision the WBA made because they felt like it was an abrupt decision that they didn't put too much thought in because of what was taking place globally. And Manny Pacquiao, he petitioned to be reinstated for his fight with Errol Spence, but they refused to. They stood with their decision to elevate UGAS, in which that got a lot of people to feel like UGAS is not the real champion. So when that happened, UGAS, the stars aligned where he got the opportunity to prove that he was indeed the real champion, and he beat Manny Pacquiao, shockingly, unanimous decision. With that said, YORDENIS UGAS is promising that he's going to beat Errol Spence Jr. in their showdown, which could possibly be the end of February, early March. And then he stated that he he don't want any excuses. He don't want anybody else. The only person he wants is Terence Bud Crawford, and he's going to repeat what he did in the amateurs and beat Terence Bud Crawford once again and create history, become the first Cuban star boxer to hold all 4 major sanction belts and be the ring and lineal undisputed champion at welterweight. So he's stating that he's focused, he's locked in, and he's going to prove that he deserves these opportunities. He's going to prove that he's a great in history. It's ironic. YORDENIS UGAS has multiple losses on his resume, 4 losses on his resume. He has draws on his resume. So, the blueprint is out for YORDENIS UGAS. You understand? And the thing about it is YORDENIS UGAS is not a big puncher. Having 31 fights, and YORDENIS UGAS only has 12 knockouts. He's a technically sound, skilled boxer with a Cuban school of boxing history and an amateur pedigree, but he just doesn't have a lot of power when it comes to dealing with fighters like Errol Spence and Terence Bud Crawford, okay? Because if you don't have the power to keep them honest and you don't have the power to keep them off you, right, you're in trouble because they are the elite of the elite, okay? They're both top 3 best pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and they both have extremely long arms. Errol Spence, again, has 3-inch arm reach advantage over UGAS, and Terence Crawford has a 5-inch arm reach advantage over YORDENIS UGAS. And the amateurs are completely different. It's a point score system. You talk about no headgear now. When that took place with Terence Crawford and UGAS, there was headgear. This is no headgear, small gloves, and they have grown leaps and bounds from the kid that Terence Crawford was in the amateurs, okay? They're both very, very versatile. YORDENIS UGAS is very, very vanilla with his approach, okay? He's very basic with his approach. Jab, jab, as he did with Manny Pacquiao. He's a timing fighter with not a lot of power. He's a skilled fighter. He's accurate with his punches, but he's not as athletic. He's not twitchy with his muscles. He's not explosive. and he doesn't have power. So what he was able to do with Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao, who is a southpaw as well, but Manny Pacquiao is a 5'5" with a 67-inch arm reach, and Manny Pacquiao is 42 years of age. Okay, so he's a very much older guy than these guys. Terence Crawford, Errol Spence in their absolute prime. Manny Pacquiao has been known to struggle with pure boxers on top of that. Okay. So, it wasn't a surprise to see him get outboxed, because Manny Pacquiao has been in that position many times before when he's gotten outboxed. He struggled with Juan Marquez, 4-division world champion, Mexican superstar boxer, who's a Hall of Famer. Juan Marquez is a counterpuncher who's a pure boxer who doesn't have quick twitch fiber muscles. He's not very explosive. He doesn't have a lot of power, but what he does have is technically skills. He's very technically sound. He has a lot of skill set. He has a high ring IQ, and he has great timing. And timing beats speed, and that's what beats Manny Pacquiao. We saw Floyd Mayweather outbox Manny Pacquiao. We saw Eric Morales outbox Manny Pacquiao. So it's not the first time we saw that, and it's not a shock. It's just that we expected Manny Pacquiao's athletic ability to overwhelm YORDENIS UGAS, and Father Time seemed to tap him on the shoulder, along with the fact that he's always struggled with technically skilled, sound boxers, okay, which YORDENIS UGAS is. But with that said, Errol Spence is bigger than YORDENIS UGAS with longer arms. Terence Crawford is about the same size with longer arms, and they're both in their absolute prime. So for YORDENIS UGAS to pull up these upsets, it would be a shocker to many people. It would be a great upset. So the biggest fight in the sport of boxing is Terence Crawford versus Errol Spence. That's the fight that everybody wants to see. So YORDENIS UGAS is claiming he's going to upset that apple cart, and he's letting it known, I'm very confident I'm going to beat Errol Spence, and I don't want no excuses from Terence Crawford, because I want to fight him next. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Make sure you hit the like button, drop a comment in the comment section, let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
You're watching Blue Blood Sports TV.